often talk about the process of healing and growing and calling in abundance and miracles. And this is very much about healing your nervous system, coming home to your body, being able to move through your fears, and growing your ability to handle more stress and more uncertainty. And I have a few videos on that already, which I'll pop the links up. But we're not going to talk about that today. We're talking about what it feels like to experience your capacity growing and how to navigate your up-leveling and expansion. So basically how to get comfortable with shifting your capacity. So let's talk a little bit about the process. So there's something in your life that is unhealed, scary. Let's just call it A. We can use an example. So say you're a bit scared of heights and you are scared of going over bridges which have like steep drops, which go over really high heights. So that for you is really scary. And then you think of something like skydiving and you're like, never in a million years would I ever do that. So you've got this like progression of, you've got like this thing A that's pretty scary to you right now, and then you've got B, which is like absolutely never gonna happen. You begin working on A, you begin healing, you begin taking those little steps across the bridge, you know, holding someone's hand, being tied onto something, and you slowly get more comfortable, your body gets more comfortable with walking over these bridges, with taking these steps, getting more comfortable with having this thing in your life. And you begin to feel more grounded in that energy. You've become a person that is now, even though you're still afraid of heights, you are able to walk across these bridges and you find a bit of peace in that place. And maybe you even get to the point where you're doing it without even thinking about it. You're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go across this bridge, whatever. And you just don't even notice anymore. You forget that there was a time that was so scary to you. And then while you're in this grounded space of being so good with crossing this bridge, the idea of B, the idea of skydiving, like comes back into your realm, because now it's not so far away. It's still incredibly scary and you're still thinking, I don't think I ever want to do this. But it becomes like, well, if it was possible for me to move through this fear and walk over this scary bridge, then maybe it would be possible for me to overcome this fear and do this scary skydiving thing. Like the possibilities have opened up because you've moved through A. The possibility of B begins to open up for you. And this is what we have in our healing and growth space with emotional work that we do and trauma healing. This is the difficult spot that I want to focus on. This is the difficult spot that we need to navigate and learn to work with better, where we're feeling really grounded and grown in one way, but feeling very ungrounded in another, and feeling that pull to do something more scary. Being in that in-between space can feel really wobbly because you're like, but I feel peaceful and empowered in one way, and yet there's this question mark of like, oh, but there's more to do, and like, oh, but I can go bigger, oh, but there's more expansion, there's more growth. And this can leave this sort of feeling of uncertainty, and it can be really uncomfortable. And I know my own personal experience in the past, this is the space that I wanted to just zoom right through. I just didn't want to be in this place. I was just like, as soon as something's healed, I'm like, okay, on to the next. What next is calling me? What's the next step? What's bigger? Where can I go? Let's face all these fears. What's scaring me now? Let's go, let's go, let's heal. And I thought this was amazing. I thought I was just so enthusiastic about healing and growing. I was like, yeah, let's just do this. This is who I am. I just want to keep growing and growing. But not realizing that actually what I was doing was completely trying to skip this middle space. I was trying to skip this step of this like wobbliness of like grounded and ungrounded, of feeling two different things at once. I wanted to skip this place of honoring the work that I'd done to get to A, to get to that first place, to get to crossing the bridge. I was missing the fact that that was a huge accomplishment by being so future focused and by being so focused on how can I grow next. It's like I wanted to just keep forgetting what I'd just done, like forget the past, just let's move forward. And this in a way is kind of a trauma response, and it keeps us in this hamster wheel of more, 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 more. So even though we're healing trauma, we're also in a trauma response at the same time, which is also another kind of like tangential but really beautiful point to remember, is that it's the same thing. It's like we're healing and we're also enacting our unhealed parts at the same time, always at the same time. But what it's really doing is stopping us from feeling the discomfort of the in-between. And this is what I want to reframe for you in this video. This space where we have grown our capacity to hold more, and the next level is sort of knocking, like tap, 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 is here. This space is beautiful. This space is divine. It is the fertile soil of our humanness. It is our bodies holding two worlds in one, where we're firmly rooted to the earth in our body, confident, feeling empowered that we've just moved through this fear, that we've just grown through something, that we've just normalized something that our past selves wouldn't have been able to cope with, and also being connected to the infinite possibility of what could be next. We're deeply connected to what is and what has been, to our past, and also connected to the future, to what awaits us. And we're holding that all in this present moment. When we talk about expanding capacity, that's really the moment that we want to talk about getting comfortable with. It's not about the growth moment or pushing through moment or succeeding moment. It's about that moment of being able to hold both, of being able to hold it all. Our power is to sit in the middle, to be that bridge, to be grown and growing at the same time, to be rooted in ourselves and letting ourselves be breathed bigger by what's going on around us. Really trusting the flow of what wants to come through and not reaching for it or grabbing for it. And too much one way and we are stuck, we are stagnant, we are keeping ourselves small in the status quo, and then too far the other way, and we find ourselves being lost and sort of drifting and being pulled in all these different directions and not really sure where's next. And feeling untethered from ourselves, being constantly pulled to the next area of growth, to how we can improve ourselves. So growing our capacity is really learning how to master this in between. And of course, I'm going to give you a couple of ways to do it. So firstly, you've got to acknowledge and celebrate your journey, where you've just been, your wins and your losses. This is not just the things that you want to celebrate where you've done well. This is just all of it, all that has happened, to acknowledge and celebrate that this is your life. I know that feels really difficult to use the word celebration, but maybe just acknowledgement for the losses and for the hardships, maybe just to respect and honor that they have happened. Notice your growth. Notice when something that used to be terrifying for you is now normal and easy. And notice when new fears have arisen. Notice where you've tried to do something differently and a fear has come up. Or notice when something you thought you'd healed has now returned to the surface and is causing pain again. Just notice these things, acknowledge them, and see that they're part of the tapestry of your life. You can journal, you can have a conversation with yourself, tell a friend, but the important point is to mark it somehow, is to be paying attention to what's happening for you in the now moment. And then secondly, notice the feelings you have around moving forward. What is driving the feeling of wanting more or wanting to go to the next step? Or what is holding you back from even thinking about the next step? Because most of the time it isn't your intuition and it isn't the universe. If you're busy thinking about wanting more, or if you're busy thinking about staying stuck, normally this is not your intuition. This is not you being in flow. This is normally your ego conversation with yourself. It is your ego wanting to arrive somewhere and wanting to land in certainty. Either it wants to be somewhere in the future, which you feel like is going to be a certain point, like I want to have the perfect relationship, house, job, whatever it is. It's your ego being like, okay, next step and we'll get that. Or it's your ego wanting to stay safe and being like, we mustn't change, we need to stay where we are. Because both of those feel like arriving into certainty, which is what your ego loves and wants more than anything. But what we want to teach the ego in terms of being comfortable with expanding our capacity is that there is no certainty. There is only this liminal space. Being present is to be in the in-between. It is the state of not knowing and knowing at the same time. And you'll notice that every time you grow, every time you heal something, you arrive into this space and it gets bigger. Because every time you heal, you're dropping this piece of the ego that wants this certainty. And you're saying, no, it's okay. We can live in this space where we don't know. We can live in this space where it all exists at the same time. So to bring it full circle, growing your capacity means growing your ability to sit with uncertainty and feeling more and more comfortable with the eternal now, this moment that you're living in, with everything happening all at once. That is the now moment, and that is exactly where you're meant to be. Loving you.